Both of us are big planners. I think it's really important to share stories like this because this was not what we planned. We weren't necessarily trying to get pregnant, and so it felt very like just kind of a miracle that it was happening.
In the days leading up to Christmas, there was a day or two where Mariah felt like she hadn't felt Emerson. And so we called the midwives, and on Christmas Eve, they said, yeah, we'd really love it if you guys would go in. They immediately hooked her up. Baby was fine. And then they said, well, you're having contractions. That's why you can't feel the baby. And we went, oh, we're a little early for contractions, aren't we? Ultimately, they sent us home, and then we followed up a couple days later.
No further concern that like labor was gonna start or progress in any way.
The next morning, we woke up where I was feeling kind of achy.
I could not get comfortable. I was like, this isn't great. And Zachary's like, we're going to the hospital. I was like, no, we don't need to go to the hospital.
We get in the car. Mariah's in so much pain. And as soon as you got out of the car, your water broke.
Yeah.
We were like hobbling towards the women and children's entrance. They wheeled us right into a room and essentially told us, looks like preterm labor. They passed us off to Dr. Pettis, and he was super kind, basically said this was not your plan. We get that. 4 hours later, we had a baby, which is just like insane. There was an NNP and a couple NICU nurses in the room when Emerson was delivered. Essentially let us know she's super early. We're gonna keep her in NICU until her due date, which we realized was in part managing expectations. Like we didn't really think she was gonna be there for another 6 weeks. They more or less whisked her away. We had just a few moments with her before they took her away. She was always strapped up to monitors. It really was close to every day we're hearing something new.
We're seeing something new.
Whether with Emerson or a different baby. And
You're familiar with IVs, but I didn't know that they could put one on the forehead. And so walking in and seeing an IV on your baby's forehead is like, what's happening? Like, this looks really scary. In those moments, it's just like this overwhelming wave of emotion of what's happening to my baby. The biggest concern was that she was having stomach and like bowel issues. About day 2 in the NICU, after starting breastfeeding, she had some blood in her stool.
That was to them immediately a sign of necrotizing colitis that they wanted to like treat immediately. They essentially stopped feeding her. They put her on fluids. That part was difficult because we just kind of felt like we were just like watching her not eat. And of course she lost a bunch of weight. And so she was 4 pounds, 6 ounces when she was born. She was down well below 4 pounds in a couple days of that point in time. And it wound up not being the root cause, but then there's still this question mark of, okay, why is she having bowel issues?
And that was really hard because they were potentially going to transfer her down to Austin where there were just more resources.
It's not terribly far, but it seemed like she was so far away just being over at Ascension a few miles from our house. We wanted her to get the right level of care. They brought the right care here. And so we got to go see our baby 7-8 times a day because she was down the street. The fact that they were able to provide custom TPN and the necessary lipids and other fluids necessary to like get her through that no feed period and not have to transfer her was, just so meaningful to us.
They were able to figure out in the next couple days that it was a dairy protein intolerance, and so we were able to stay put as we figured out a new diet for her, a new diet for me. I think they did a really good job at like including us in the process rather than like things happening and then explaining it to us later. It felt like we were brought along in every part of the journey. I think when we initially got wheeled into the labor and delivery room, it was a shock and a hard realization that things weren't going as we had planned. It was also a comfort when in both Dr. Pettis's and the nurses, really the whole team, like as things progressed, it was clear that they wanted it to be as close to our plan as possible. Even though it didn't go to plan, we were in the end really thrilled by how it worked out.
Especially being first-time parents, it was just the perfect level of support. We feel really, really, really grateful.
Thank you for caring about our daughter, like first and foremost, but also thank you for caring for us.